bear in mind that. So the other thing I want to say is that the key to pervasive BI is that one size doesn't fit all. This is a bit of Forrester research. Yes, Forrester. No, TD, right? I do apologise to them. So many reports, so many analysts. That pointed out that what you've got to do when you start going beyond these power users, you've got to think about what that user wants to see, not just in terms of the information, that's always important, but how do they want to access it? What kind of level of access? And we sometimes, and it's a bit of a rude, I suppose, we call them casual users, but the large number of people that don't have access to BI today, to be honest, are not going to be using it every hour, every day. They're not going to be sitting there analysing it. They've usually got another job to do. They've got a day job, and that's going to be 90% of what they do. But they will need to dip into information when they want to make decisions. It's important to match the user interface, the usability to the sophistication of the user. And that works both ways. There's no point giving a casual user the most powerful BI tool in the world, because it will completely overwhelm them, they won't use them, they'll be put off and they'll go back to using a spreadsheet, and that's not a place where we want to be. Equally, you can't give the power user the easiest tool to use in the world either, just a dashboard. They can't change, because they have the knowledge to be able to get into the data and make their own changes. So, and this has always been the SAP Business Objects approach actually. We have what looks like on the face of it a rather confusing range of different BI tools. Actual fact, it was deliberate. It's not an accident, it's deliberate. We deliver power users stuff that are good for power users, and we deliver things that are easy to use for people that need easy to use them. Then the challenges for IT, we make sure that it's all running on a single platform, so there's only one place to manage it all. That's important to balance that. There has been a trend recently in BI, particularly because budget spending has now shifted more to the business than IT. IT is starting to lose control of a lot of IT spending, and that's starting to fragment. And we're going backwards, I think, actually, in terms of business intelligence. We're going backwards to departments buying their own solution, and then they can end up with, before you know it, you've got 9, 10, 11 different business intelligence solutions going on within the organisation. That's silos again. It doesn't matter whether the department has easy access to a silo of information, and you can't get a holistic view of what's going on within the organisation. And there is a danger that if you sort of pick these off as point solutions, that you end up with the same silos that you already have. So trying to think about doing this in as simple a way as possible, but at the same time making sure that it's not so simple that business users are either overwhelmed or underwhelmed with what you provide. That's covered in this way. So it's looking like the number one reason actually for the underperformance of BI certainly will be lack of strategy, a lack of a culture around this sort of thing, and Gartner agree. And this is on the face of a rather complex diagram. It's put together by IDC, but I can provide you with the white paper that sits behind it if you're interested in it. What they try to do is identify what are the dependent and independent variables that make pervasive BI successful, and what are the sort of statistically most relevant contributors to that. So it's quite heavy. So they've got what they call the dependent variables. These are the things that say you have pervasive BI, and not surprisingly, the degree of use, degree of external use, percentage of power users, which is an interesting one. That just kind of shows you how many analytical brains you've got in the business, really. The number of domains, that's the breadth thing again. How it's not just about one department. How often the data's updated, which is a sort of a bit more of an outcome, but if you can imagine that you need a good information management infrastructure to get data updated on a regular basis without it being a huge problem. So implied in almost real-time data is a very smooth running machine sitting behind it. And then your analytical orientation, that's the cultural thing. That's like, are we an information-centric business, or are we not, I suppose. And then what's down here, they put down the 5 things, the 5 independent variables that have the biggest impact on pervasive BI. And top of the tree was training, actually, degree of training. So how widely are the business people trained? Not actually, as you would have thought, on the use of the technology, because often I think when we think of IT training, we think technology. Trained on the use of the data. Do they actually know what it means, how it's defined? Usually not. The good news is that those 2 training mechanisms are additive, so you can train people on the technology and the data and get a double benefit, but you need to get the training. and this is ironic because this is the most under pressure budget of all, of course, in any IT project, the one that's first to get cut when there's a recalculation. But it's absolutely vital to the success of projects, and it's about, do the business people understand the data enough to be able to use it to help them with decision making? It's fundamental. Design quality, that's the fitness of purpose. How good is the BI solution? How well does it fit the needs of the business users? There's lots of things wrapped up underneath that heading, as you can imagine. But it's fitness of purpose, unfortunately. Prominence of governance, so having standards in place within the organisation to manage the rollout of business intelligence. That's back to the competency centre again. Non-executive involvement. That's an interesting one because again, we all know sponsorship's important. We know we need a senior person in the organisation who's going to, if you like, set the tone. What they're saying here is it's important for line management to set the example in using this technology as well. So don't just get a senior person to go, today we're a BI company, here's your data. You've got to get the line management using it as well. So again, there's an implied culture change there. I'm not saying is easy to do. I mean, this is the thing. It's nice having a little slide that goes, yeah, that's important. But we all know, I think, that getting our organisation to think this way is a different kind of issue. And then finally, a performance management methodology is important because that's the framework upon which a lot of the BI reporting analysis will be hung on. Now, the most famous management methodology is probably the balanced scorecard. Lots of people have that. Books have been written. Much money's been made out of it. But in actual fact, what IDC found was that you didn't actually need to buy performance management methodology. You can use your own. Yeah, as long as you've got one, that's the important thing. It doesn't matter actually what it is. I'm sure the protagonists would argue that, but as long as you've got the framework for how you want to measure the organisation, that's the important thing. So that was the thing. And you can see by the colouring which ones rank up. And again, there's a white paper that covers that in a lot more detail. So the Aberdeen group, the Forrester, less useful, I think, the Forrester one, and then there's the IDC white paper. What I'll do is I'll give these three as PDF files to Chris and Visual Metrics, and they can distribute as they see fit. But just to go to say that there are, well-known processes that you need to go through in order to set up a management culture. I'm not on commission for these books, but if you want a book about business intelligence and how it can improve organisational performance, like a business book as opposed to a white paper. But these two books are the best, I think, personally, that you can get. The Competing on Analytics one was the first. That's unfortunate because it says competing. It's an implied private sector thing. But to be honest, there's still some good stuff in there. Your second book, Analytics of Work, is much more about the day-to-day. So this is more strategic and about predictive type analysis. This one's more about day-to-day decision making and useful. But again, if you're looking for that holiday read, you could do that. Or give that to the chief executive. And see what happens. And you never know. You never know. So to conclude, and I apologise before I conclude for overrunning on the time. There's been lots of research. Business intelligence is a great thing. I've worked 18 years and it still gets me out of bed in the morning, so it can't all be too bad. So I didn't really want to cover that today because I hope that we all think it's generally a good thing. I do think that technology isn't the barrier it was once, and I do think we'll start to ease of use dropping down the list of things that stops us from doing the right thing, as it were. And I think actually that mobile business intelligence could be I hesitate the word killer that, but it could just be the thing that really makes a difference. Gartner are now estimating that 33% of all business intelligence content will be delivered over mobile devices by 2013. That's a lot, 33%. I mean, that's not just a small change, that's a profound change in the way that we use business intelligence. So you want to be thinking about, in your particular organisation, is that wave going to pass you by? Is that wave something you need to start thinking about now? Because it's got a cost associated with it, there's no doubt about it. But the benefit of that kind of real-time access, the benefit of information wherever you are, whether you're out, at a building site, whether you're, in another agency, some of those intangible benefits can be quite huge. I think the last cultural issues, and that's the big thing that we need to say. I probably haven't given you like, here's 5 things you need to do now in order to change the culture of your organisation. But the one thing I hear over and over again, people tell me is this: if I do more of a product-centric presentation, that sounds brilliant, Richard, but I just can't imagine my organisation doing that. And you almost give up. You almost go, it'll never happen. We don't have the visionary leader. We don't have the management pushing for it. We're just not. I don't think that's the case. I think we can fix that, but we're all kind of have to be salespeople here on this particular situation. And again, there are books out there that talk about that you can do this from the bottom up. It is harder to do it from the top down. If you've got a chief executive who wakes up one morning and goes, you know what, we're going to be an analytical organisation. That's brilliant, because that makes your life an awful lot easier. But you can do it from the bottom up. You can do it by working together with other departments and creating a kind of an underground, if you like, of people using information better. It is possible, but it's a lot harder. So good luck with that. And then finally, it's about having a strategy. At the end of the day, everything rests on the fact that you can get the strategy in place. I think if you can do that, then hopefully we'll all be better performing organisations. Thank you very much.